Going on, guys? Dirtsheet clocking in from the Spoiler Alert Network, and I'm coming at you with another episode of our video series, The Hype Train. And The Hype Train is a series where we get excited, or hype if you will, about anything that we found out, whether it's news in the comic book world, or the video game world, the wrestling world, or whether it's just something cool that happened to me today personally. We're going to get you excited about it, or try to at least. And what I'm talking about today is the recent news that we got just the other day that Spider-Man is back in the MCU. And this makes me ecstatic personally. I am super excited for this because Spider-Man is one of my favorite characters in the comic books, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man is just grade A. I absolutely love it. Today I will be talking about Spider-Man being back in the MCU, the construct of the deal that they struck, the falling out of the previous deal. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So to fully understand the construct of this deal and why Spider-Man was yanked from the MCU in the first place, we have to go all the way back to, I believe it was the early 90s, maybe late 80s. I don't know. I don't know if I was a thought yet at that point. But the comics were tanking. Stan Lee was not making a lot of money off of the comics. The sales just went down, I suppose. So what happened was he did a complete fire sale and started selling off rights to his characters to miscellaneous companies. So we had all of the Marvel characters in different parts of the cinematic universe at the time. They were all owned by different people. The X-Men and Deadpool went to Fox. Sony bought Spider-Man and the Spider-Man universe, and yada yada yada. And then what happened was Disney come along and they started scooping up all the characters they could to start building this cinematic universe that we see today. That just evolved into this huge thing. And we seen what happened with Fox was Fox didn't want to sell rights to their characters, so Disney was like, all right, buy Fox. Now they have rights to the X-Men and Deadpool and the Fantastic Four. The one part of the universe they have not been able to get a hold of so far is the Spider-Man universe. And Sony has kept a death grip on those characters, and we had the Tobey Maguire films, we had the Andrew Garfield poo-poo movies. I did not like those. And then we got to a point where Disney and Sony struck a deal where Disney got to use Spider-Man for a limited number of movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as well as some tie-ins. It was kind of a rental of the character, if you will. And they cast Tom Holland as Spider-Man. They started making the movies, and it just took off. Tom Holland was a phenomenal Spider-Man in the eyes of a lot of people. I personally think he's the best one so far. He is the perfect blend of dorky Peter Parker and charismatic Spider-Man to make the ideal Peter Parker Spider-Man combo. I really love it. And then, as we've seen, Spider-Man got a couple of movies in the MCU, and he was tied in multiple films. And then Disney actually moved to renegotiate the contract that they had with Sony because they felt like they weren't making enough money, which is a little unfair on Disney's part. Sony wasn't completely to blame for this because Disney is just this powerhouse media guru now that owns everything essentially. And I might get attacked or kidnapped for talking slightly bad about them in this video. We'll just have to see. So if I go MIA, I need you guys to look for me because Disney came and found me and took me away. Anyways, besides the point. They moved to renegotiate terms because they wanted more money for the work that they were doing with the Spider-Man character, and Sony said, no, don't like it, yanked Spider-Man back, and just pulled him out of the MCU. And then the memes just started like crazy. And this is actually the same look I had too, finding out that Spider-Man was taken out of the cinematic universe. It was a huge deal. Both sides got some backlash. Sony arguably got more of the heat for withdrawing and taking Spider-Man out, and it was terrible timing on the part of this deal because this was right before Phase 4. This is right after Tony Stark's death. Captain America stepped down, so Disney was making Peter Parker the guy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He was going to do great things. And then before we knew it, it was all gone. A core character of the comic books, a very iconic character in Spider-Man, was just out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we had this stalemate. It looked like we were never going to get the universe that we deserved. And this went on for a while, and then the other day we recently found out that Spider-Man is back in the MCU. He gets one more film, and he gets another major tie-in as well, which I personally think will be in Doctor Strange, because that's where they're introducing the multiverse, and according to Kevin Feige, he is planning to write Spider-Man out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not in a bad way, but he is preparing in case Disney and Sony can't come to terms on a new deal. He is preparing for a cinematic universe without Spider-Man, and I think the best way to do that would to be include him into the Doctor Strange movie, which is actually the Spider-Man 3 film is set to release, I believe, in July of 2021, which is around the same time as Doctor Strange is set to start recording and maybe release. So maybe this is intentional. Maybe they plan on writing Peter Parker out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That way, Sony can go their separate ways, because we know Sony wanted to do a Spider-Man Venom joint universe. So maybe this is a way that both companies can benefit, and that's why I really enjoy this deal, because at the time, it was not good for either side, because Disney lost a key player in Phase 4, and Sony could not use any of the stories or anything like that that Disney had done with Spider-Man, because of they involved Tony Stark heavily in Peter Parker's story, with the suit that he had was Stark Tech, and he was a heavy factor in both of the Spider-Man solo movies. So it was just poor timing, really, and neither one of the universes made out better for it. So I think this deal is really going to allow both universes to benefit and prepare in case they can't strike another deal for them to go separate ways and both world states be better off for it. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for listening to me babble about Spider-Man being put back into the MCU. Let me know what you guys think about this deal. Let me know what you think is going to happen in the future as well. Since it is only for one movie and a tie-in, we don't know what's going to happen after the third Spider-Man film. Jump in the comments, let us know. Check out our playlist on YouTube for the Hype Train videos. Give us a like on our Facebook page. We did find our Twitter in the Twitter zone from whoever stole it. You can follow us at the Real Spoiler Alert Network. I'm Dirtsheet, and thank you for joining me today, guys. Stay dedicated.